This over here is the brand new HP Omen 16 2023 model. I know it's a gaming laptop, but if you're a creator, you should be interested in some of the specs that this guy packs. Let's put it this way. This laptop is quite a bit more powerful than the full tower PC that I'm using every single day. And the tower PC is, I don't know how many times bigger. So let's take a look. So thanks Omen and Intel for letting me check out this laptop and sponsoring this video. By the way, if you haven't checked out the unboxing and first impressions and where I'm talking about this laptop, where we went to a special event to actually open this laptop, then check out the previous video. I'll link it down there as well if you haven't seen that yet. Firstly, let's talk about the CPU. This is the Intel i7 13700HX. And the HX in the end there are very interesting letters as well, which we'll talk about in a moment. But this is a 16-core CPU and 24 threads. So it's got 8 P cores and 8 E cores. And if you are a gamer, you're thinking E cores, they're absolutely waste of time. But if you're a creator, they are absolute genius things that you can have on your processor. If you're working in Adobe products, for example, Adobe Premiere Pro, and then you've finished your video, and then you want to export it, you send it to Media Encoder, those E cores are actually going to take over from P cores, the performance cores that you used for editing, and the E cores together with the GPU are going to export the video in Media Encoder, while you have all the P cores free to start a new project, edit it on Premiere Pro, and you're pretty much not going to notice any difference because the two separate things going on, which is absolutely amazing. But let's talk about the performance here, because how good is this 16-core laptop CPU? By the way, 16 cores, but I know we're getting so used to this, but laptops didn't used to have 16 cores, okay? Have a look at this. I've done the Cinebench R23 in here, and the multi-core, we're getting very close to 20,000 points here. I'll just show you here. We're probably gonna get a lower score here now. 100 watts, 106 watts, 111 watts. Keeps pushing those cores. By the way, on laptop to see thermal throttling, that's completely normal. Whenever you get a laptop, they're always thermal throttle. All Windows laptops thermal throttle. So this is not a metric that you should be looking at. You should be looking at the actual performance of those cores. 18,746. Okay, we lost a little bit because there's lots of things running in the background, but you can get very close to 20,000 score. I got 19,900 and something score previously, which is just ridiculous. Let's put this in perspective. My tower down there, the full tower PC with a desktop 10900K, right, which pulls double the wattage here. We're getting about 15,000 point score in Cinebench R23. So this laptop here is 33% faster than my full tower PC in CPU performance, which is absolutely ridiculous, and that's at stock. Now, I mentioned the HX letters in the end of the CPU, which basically means that it is unlocked. So if you've got something like the XDU of Intel software, you can actually play around with some of these power limits and actually overclock, well, get even more performance out of this Intel CPU. Now, you can do that through the HP Omen Gaming Hub as well and optimize the performance, but the XDU is very, very good here as well. So if you're gonna go to advanced, you can try Optimizer 2.0 as well. Look at that. We just got extra 1 gigahertz on all of these cores, okay? The boost turbo is now 157 watts. So feel free to try that, but bear in mind, your laptop cooling is gonna be the limitation. So if you're in a very cool environment, like somewhere outside in Canada or Alaska, then this could be very interesting. Right now, I have 27.6 degrees in this room, so I'm probably not even gonna try this. But if you go to advanced tuning here, you can play around with all of these clock speeds, turbo boost wattages, the time window, power max, like everything, which means that if you're an enthusiast, you could really get even more performance out from your CPU. Second of all, the GPU. This over here is the RTX 4080 laptop GPU from Nvidia. And just for clarification, this is not the same as the desktop 4080, because the desktop 4080 pulls over 300 watts, but this one over here about 145 watts at maximum utilization from Firma. But regardless, the 40 series Nvidia GPUs are actually very efficient and have very good performance. Now, if you're looking at Blender performance and 3D rendering, then this laptop gets 3,100 samples per minute in Blender benchmark in junk shop scene. And if we're putting it in perspective, this is faster than the RTX 3090 Ti desktop GPU that pulls over 450 watts. To actually carry that much power in a laptop portably anywhere you go is just ridiculous. Now, I understand that we only have 12 gigabytes of VRAM on this laptop GPU compared to the desktop that has 24, but to pack even 12 gigabytes of VRAM on a laptop this size is very, very impressive. And if you're a video creator in Davinci Resolve, which you'll see in a moment, or 3D, and you need more than 8 gigabytes, this is going to be fantastic. Plus, the RTX 4080 and above GPUs on laptop have dual encoders, which means that when you're exporting a video, you can get up to 2 times the performance. And if you look at some of the creator laptops from competition, you can actually see that a lot of them offer only 4070, but then this gaming laptop offers you 4080, which means it's even faster at video exporting than some of the dedicated video exporting laptops, if you know what I mean. So in short, the GPU performance is quite impressive. Now, the main trend for upgradability in laptops these days is that you really can't upgrade anything, but this is not true on this laptop. You can upgrade the RAM and SSD on this. In fact, you don't even need to swap out an SSD. You've got a free secondary M.2 slot SSD that you can put in there. You can put a Gen 4 SSD in there. Already, the SSD that's in this laptop is very, very fast. I'm getting up to 7,000 megabytes per second read speeds and up to 5.1 gigabytes. That's 5,100 megabytes per second write speeds, which is absolutely insane. And you can easily just pop another one in there, open the screws on the laptop, and just put a secondary project drive in there, which I highly recommend you to do as a creator, to separate the operating system and projects on separated drives. Even though this version here comes with 32 gigabytes of RAM, I very much highly recommend you as a creator, if you're a serious creator and just want the best performance out of this laptop, upgrade it to 64 gigabytes because 32 gigabytes is going to be the bottleneck when buying this. If you don't know which RAM to get, I'm going to leave links in the description below for something that you can upgrade with. Now let's take a look at some of the benchmarks then here on my model. This is the 32 gigabyte version, bear in mind, and I tested it with like what it comes with. First of all, looking at Photoshop here, we're getting 1116 points on Puget Bench here, and this is on par with the 11900K desktop CPU with RTX 3090, what I have tested, plus 64 gigabytes of RAM. So when you upgrade to 64 gigabytes of RAM, you're going to get even higher scores, and the Photoshop performance is going to be just amazing. Next, Lightroom Classic, you can see we're getting about 1200 points on the Puget Bench Lightroom Classic benchmark, and this is roughly on par with a desktop 12600K with RTX 3090 and 64 gigabytes of RAM. To get that on a laptop, performance like that is very impressive. Let's just say that much. In Premiere Pro, we're getting very good scores here as well. I don't have that much comparison now here because Puget Bench recently changed the Premiere Pro benchmark version. So now the new benchmarks aren't compatible with the older ones. But if you want to test your system, and here's the comparison of what I'm getting on this laptop. Again, I highly recommend 64 gigs of RAM if you're using this daily as a creator. And last of all, Puget Bench for Davinci Resolve. Look at this, 1,957 points. This is pretty crazy on a laptop, just to put it in perspective. I'm getting only slightly faster scores with 12600K and RTX 3090, which has 24 gigabytes of VRAM, desktop GPU, and it pulls so much more power than this on a laptop. It's crazy. That 12 gigabytes of VRAM really helps with Davinci Resolve. If you're using Davinci Resolve, this will come very, very handy, especially if using very heavy denoising or some heavy GPU effects on Davinci Resolve. This 4080 can really keep up with it. Now, for some reason, the After Effects benchmark crashed in here many times. I have to figure out what's the problem in there, but for some reason it crashes there, but that's that. I do want to mention that because it has the Intel and Nvidia combo, that means that we also get Quicksync from Intel's iGPU that offers extra codec playback on some of the video editing applications like Premiere Pro and in Davinci Resolve actually. So you get very smooth timeline performance with some of the H.264 and 5 codecs. So basically this is a gaming laptop, but if you're a 3D creator, especially 3D creator, I mean like video and photo, they're very, very good as well, but 3D, that really shines with those 4080 in there and the Intel CPU. You're gonna get so much power on the go. And if you're a gamer, you're probably gonna enjoy some of the gaming features as well, like the 240 Hz screen, which for creators is probably a little bit of an overkill. 1440p 240 Hz, we don't really need that. By the way, you do get the HyperX Cloud 2 headset with this laptop when you're buying this as well, if you're interested. But I want to mention two last things. One of them is the design. Often we're getting laptop designs that are just so blingy and blangy and absolutely ridiculous. But this one here, it looks very, very slick and minimalistic. We're like calming down the RGB and the lines and curves and making it a little bit more simpler, and I am enjoying this very, very much. This matte black, it looks very, very nice. And there is a little bit of an RGB here on the keyboard. It's got a 4-zone RGB backlight on the keys, so you can make it customized however you want. And this laptop also carries all the ports you need on the go if you need anything at all, whether it's HDMI Type A, Type C port, and the Type C ports are Thunderbolt 4. So if you ever need to expand anything, your storage, external, whatever IO, then you can easily do that through this. It even has a 1 gigabit LAN port. Interesting. Now this is an overview of this laptop's performance and what this actually means for creators. But if you do want to see my user experience review, then stay tuned. We're going to do some more stuff with this laptop on the channel. But I want to say thank you for Intel and Omen for sponsoring this video and letting me check out this laptop. If you want to check it out, the link for this is in the description below. See you soon.